Thanks for joining us for another episode of Beyond the Listing. I'm your host, Jeremy Medor, and today I am sitting with a good friend of mine, Neil Fredette.
Thank you, Jeremy. Thank you for having me. I'm Neil Fredette, team leader of the Fredette Group of Keller Williams, Merrimack Valley.
Neil, what is your circumference, your area of concentration in regards to real estate?
So I'm licensed in Mass and New Hampshire, so I'll do anything from really the Lakes region of New Hampshire, south, and really all of Massachusetts.
Right. Answer that by talking to me this time.
Okay.
Versus that.
Okay.
Neil, what's your area of concentration for real estate as far as your territory? What's your focus?
Yeah, so I'm licensed in Mass and New Hampshire. Really all of Massachusetts, from Eastern really out to Western Mass, depending upon the client. I'll do some listings out in Western Mass. Yep. And I'll do business all the way up really into the Lakes region of New Hampshire. Yeah.
Now the Lakes region has a special place for you.
It does.
You have some relatives up there. You have some.
Yeah, my in-laws have had a place there for over 30 years.
Over on Winnipesaukee.
Winnipesaukee, yep. And so we've enjoyed some great times up there. And I've got a client now that we're having an offer accepted in Alton today.
Fantastic.
So it's nice to be able to go up there and know that area and be able to bring some people from down here looking to go up and get a second home or an investment property, and to know that area and to be able to help them accomplish their goals up there as well.
Wonderful, wonderful. I'm glad that you have a good mixture of time away, while also working, because that's what we do as business owners, right?
Of course.
While also being boots on the ground down here. I think it's a good balance.
It certainly is. I think as you saw the other day, I had a mobile office. I don't know what day it was, Monday morning or something like that.
I was sitting in for Danielle. I was in my office covering for Danielle, who was out on vacation for the day. She had taken a long weekend. And I saw you post up on Facebook the dashboard of your boat. I'm like, what the heck?
And you said, this is how we've been communicating all day. And I said, maybe.
I do the same up at our lake, except internet service is so poor where we are that I can't do a mobile hotspot and get away with it. At best, I have cell phone reception as far as just a call, and that's it. Yeah,
well, Kara will tell you, there's been many times we've been on the boat and I've pulled back on the boat. We put it in neutral. Everyone's sitting there waiting for me, and I'm on the phone for whether it be 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes. Because you just I gotta work. And so I try to be available. There's certainly times that you gotta disconnect and give your family and your friends some time, but there's also times you got to be flexible. And a friend of mine always joked the best ability is availability, and especially in this business it rings true. So it doesn't have to be 24/7. But be available. Be available to your clients when they need you.
Well, so we're going to get involved in our next conversation, and on that note, that's relationship building right there. So let's go over to that.
Sounds good. Let's do it.
But yeah, so I just wanted to have you here in the studio and catch up with the Neil Fredette.
Awesome.
And talk a little bit about your journey, specifically in real estate. What brought you to it, and how's it going, and kind of your journey onward. Specifically, like, what are you doing outside of the listing environment to market yourself as a business owner, as a realtor, buyer's or seller's agent, etc.? Just kind of go through a little bit of the gamut, as it were.
Yeah, sure. So I've certainly tried to reposition my business to be more involved client-centric, and it's important for me to really start giving back to my clients. I started in this industry and I'm paying for leads and all that sort of stuff to build your business up. And now I'm really putting a lot of my time and energy and effort back into my clients. We have a lot of client events that we host. You know, we just finished up a spring ice cream social in the spring.
Sure.
We've done that the past couple of years. We're about to have our third fall festival. Last year we had north of 300 friends, family, clients, partners like yourself and your team over there.
Yeah, over at the Orchard.
So those type of events.
Love Top Secret.
Isn't it a great place? So
great
fortunate to have been involved in the sale and the purchase of that place for a couple of different friends, and the fact that I'm able to have my event there these past few years is amazing. A client and friend of mine to be able to do so. So it's those sort of events that I really feel bring you on more of a personal level with your clients, and it deepens your relationship. And, our mindset is, I'm your realtor when I meet you until we close, and then afterwards.
Right.
I had a client of mine who I actually met him on Zillow. Had to have been close to 5 years ago now. Okay. He's called me for everything from who can renovate my bathroom. Do you know someone who can help me do my roof?
You as a central point of contact.
Absolutely. Yeah. And now he just asked me looking for an attorney on something completely random, unrelated to real estate. Okay. That's who I am. Come to me, use me as a resource. Yeah. I want to help you no matter what you're looking for. I have a lot of resources. Use me as an asset.
Right. Yeah. Because you guys, a proper realtor will have investment in the local community far beyond the actual real estate aspect of things. And it's clear that you've carved that out for yourself so that you are operating as that central point of contact, particularly to people that are new to the area, who might not have longevity on their side or might not have that relationship in the community. I know that when my wife and I moved up to Maine, I'm from Maine, but I'm far enough away from where I'm from that I'm not really from that area. Yeah. And so there was a lot of questions that I had about who to go to for things like even chimney sweeping, stuff like that. It happens real fast. It's really tough to get a lawn care person up there, right? A reliable one. Yep. And so there's a lot of questions that we did ask our local community. And since we purchased 4 or 5 years ago, and I didn't really have a relationship with my buyer's agent. He quite frankly was very generic when it came to his approach. It was like he was unfortunately a paperwork pusher. Is what he was. So he didn't really nurture that relationship. So I can definitely attest to the importance of nurturing that relationship and the long-term benefit that it brings to both homeowner as well as realtor.
Certainly. Yeah. I have a client I'd met. It was a purchase lead 6 years ago, helped her purchase, stayed in contact with her. Just helped her sell that condo I helped her buy 6 years ago, and just helped her purchase a single family residence as well. And if it wasn't for me staying in contact with her, that relationship would have expired, just like the one that you have with your buyer agent. Don't even know who he is, haven't talked to him since closing.
Well, that's basically it. Right? I know who he is, and I won't talk to him since closing, just simply because of that kind of relationship. It's like one of those things, like I just felt like a disposable client. Sure. And it's not that he did a categorically bad job. Yeah. He also just didn't do a categorically great job. Yeah. And obviously I'm in the industry in an outside sense of sorts still. But nonetheless, I have enough data to grade realtors off of. And it was just, it was like going to McDonald's.
That's who I don't want to be. I don't want to be McDonald's.
Yeah. So yeah, it's very important to realize that, and I'm glad that you've done that. So what makes you latch on to the client experience? What life values do you have that kind of pushed you in that direction, or is there a lesson that you learned early on, et cetera? Like, where does that come from?
Yeah, maybe a little bit of both. So I've always been a relationship kind of guy. I love building relationships. I love using people who I know for things, as long as they're good at what they do. Sure. I'll use them. You and I think met. I may have done one deal before we met. You were a single photographer with nobody in your business.
Keith, who's sitting behind the camera right now, was my first long-term hire. Yep. We had a couple of employees prior to Keith, but they only stayed for a very short period, 3-4 months. Yeah. But Keith's been with me for 7 years. Yep. And so that's greater than 7 years ago.
Greater than 7 years ago. I don't know, 8-9 years, whenever.
Probably 8 or 9 at most. Yeah. I moved out to Leominster 8 years ago. Yep. Oh, no. Oh, wow. 9 years ago now.
So we're somewhere around there.
Just right around there. Yep.
Yeah. Yep. And, met you. You did a great job. Yeah. I'm a loyal man. I love long-term relationships. I love continuously building that relationship. Yep. Now you and I have such a great relationship, and I try to have those similar relationships with my clients. So sure. A lot of my clients are my friends and my family. At least that's where my sphere started. Yeah. And it certainly growed from there and branched off. Yep. So staying in contact with those people is something I really, truly enjoy. I like calling people. I like reaching out to them. I like seeing them. And I think they feel that, and hopefully a lot of the times they like hearing from me, and they like seeing me as well.
Sure. Sure. And so so there's obviously the transaction side of the relationship during the actual transaction, right?
Yep.
But the relationship side needs to be far larger than the transaction side.
Correct.
That transaction should just be a blip on the radar compared to the long-term relationship.
Yeah.
That's the goal.
Yeah.
And nurturing that obviously it's a lifelong duty, right? It's not something that you just send out a thank you card once a year and call it a day.
Correct.
It's more involved than that.
Yeah.
And so that's fantastic. What advice would you have for a homeowner or a home buyer who has not yet stepped foot into the market, as it were, particularly with some of the changes that have been happening on the national level, things like interest rates, things like, the job market, et cetera. What kind of advice would you have for them for what to look for in a realtor? I mean, obviously, go to Neil.
Give me a call.
Right. But short of that, what are some red flags? Maybe we can start there.
Yeah. So this is an industry who has a lot of people getting into it. Yep. There is a saturation of people who are licensed in real estate, and just be careful of who you select to work with.
Yeah.
Experience is key in this industry. There's a lot of other good agents like myself who have a similar approach.
Yeah.
Do your research, vet your people, align yourself with a good realtor, and hopefully that realtor has a good team around him. And when I say team, I don't just mean like Neil Fredette and the Fredette Group and everyone who's on my team.
Yep.
You're a part of my team.
Yeah.
The attorney that I was just speaking to right before we started was a part of my team.
Yep.
And there really is. And the lenders that I work with, the home inspectors that I work with, it's all of that stuff are people who are a part of my team.
Sure.
And I have relationships with those people, long-standing relationships like I do with you. And those people are accountable to you.
Yep.
And when you use an agent who might have been in business for, I'm not saying there's not good agents who've been in business for a year, but maybe they're inexperienced. They don't have a lot of transactional experience behind them. They don't have those same relationships with the lenders and the home inspectors. Yep. And they're just
still developing their relationships.
They are.
They don't have the clout, or they might not have the camaraderie there or the rapport with some of the vendors that they have because they're still on the transactional basis.
Correct.
Right?
And hopefully those newer agents align themselves with a team so they have some leverage when they are a new agent and they're not just out there floating on their own.
Yeah.
So that's key. So I don't mean to say you can't work with a newer agent, because I was a newer agent at one point.
Yeah, everybody starts
somewhere. You were a
somewhere.
newer photographer at one point.
Yep.
But that being said, make sure that they've got a good team around them, and don't just use your cousin because you like them.
Yeah.
If your cousin does a great job, use them.
Right.
But if not, you might want to consider at least going out there and interviewing a few people and doing your diligence.
Yep. So you talk about, a good realtor, great job, not necessarily experience, but at least capacity, things of that nature. Those, unfortunately, are fairly intangible to someone who doesn't know, I don't know, I'd say ass from their elbow, but
it's fair.
We're going to beat that one out. But as far as like a seller, realtor, or I'm sorry, a seller homeowner or a buyer, a home buyer, they might not know what those qualifications are.
Sure.
Right. And so obviously we need to encourage them to ask questions. Right. And some of the questions that they might want to ask is what's the realtor's availability?
Yeah.
Can you give me a map of our timeline as far as, from contract signing to market date?
Absolutely.
Can you give me performance reports for our local market dating back 6 months or what have you?
Of course.
And having access to those reports is something that most large brokerages have, right? So there's a lot of assets that are already there, but having the realtor do that legwork before that contract signing shows that they are in fact interested in winning your business. Yeah,
they're willing to work for you that hard before you're even under contract. And my mindset is I'll work just as hard for you when we're under contract. I won't say harder, because I'm working hard for you from the day that we meet. And I'm going to continue that right through until today, whenever you close, whether it was yesterday, 6 months ago, or 6 years ago. I'm going to keep that mindset.
And that's the kind of mindset that unfortunately it only comes out in the woodwork, right? I've said before, and I'll say it again. When I first got involved in photography, it was actually for weddings. And I very quickly learned that a couple doesn't know that they've hired a bad wedding photographer until it's too darn late.
Same with the realtor. I've heard that saying. Same.
You don't know.
You don't.
And it's the same thing with the closing attorney and the lender.
Correct.
You don't know that you've hired somebody that doesn't keep up with their promises, or they overcommit, or whatever it might be, until you're already in the weeds.
Right.
And at this point, you're just looking at a rescue, hopefully.
Yep.
Right. And that's hard. That's really hard for a homeowner, a buyer or seller to be in. And it's even harder, potentially, for the other professionals that are involved watching that one professional not uphold their end of the bargain.
Yeah.
Right. And that's a real challenge. And so my advice, I think, personally, to homeowners would be to be skeptical.
Yeah.
Be skeptical. Don't look at the new and shiny. Like when you go purchase a new car, you have to ask questions. If you just walk in and you're just blindsided with all the new and shiny and you're not crossing your T's and dotting your I's, you're going to walk out with some bad financing.
Correct.
Or you're going to walk out with maybe the car that you didn't want and you got kind of, pushed into. You don't want to have that kind of relationship happen with your real estate representation or even their extended team, like you
for sure
were talking.
We just actually are closing buying a new car today, and it's the 4th vehicle I bought off the same guy.
There you go.
Relationships. Same.
Yep. So we actually had 3 cars running with the same individual, and then he moved to Florida. I'm like, no, you can't do that to me, Chris. And I'm like, you got another guy that you can recommend up here? He goes, honestly, unfortunately, no. Yeah. I'm like, you can't leave me in the water, man. And so I had to go embark on a new journey, finding a new car salesperson. Yeah. And similar to car sales, real estate sales, they have a high turnover.
Yep.
I just take a look at what's the success rate on a new realtor within the first 5 years, something like 80% drop off. Or
that's probably accurate. Yeah. I see it. You see the attrition. Coming through
massive,
consistently. Yeah.
Absolutely massive attrition. Yeah. And the reason why is that it looks like it's easy at first. And then you find out exactly how much feast or famine it is, how much unpaid quote unquote work. I say, quote unquote, because a lot of it is all spec work. Right. And you guys work on a completely different timeline than we do, right? You're on a listing, 2, 3, 4 months altogether between galvanizing the relationship, getting the contract paperwork signed, getting it to market, closing the deal, sending it all the way to the closing table. Like that's when it's really closed. And even then it's not really closed because you have that, that leftover stuff. We're on site for photo day. We deliver the stuff day after or the second day for video, and then we're done. Right? Like our lead time is maybe a week and a half and we're done. Yep. We washed our hands. Yep. But the relationship for us is very important with the realtor. Obviously that's where we galvanize, but it's very different for the homeowner.
Yeah, and they want to do their diligence on that. My father-in-law once said, and I've always remembered this, he's like, learn from other people's mistakes because it's too expensive to always learn from your own. And I was like, you know what? That is a great statement right there. I love that statement, and I've always tried to think of that. So, you learn from others in the good that they do, and you learn from others in the bad that they do. Yep. Do your diligence in all of life, not just in real estate if you're a buyer or seller.
Yeah. Let's take a look at the whole scope.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you're concentrating on what works, that's fantastic. But you also need to understand why certain things don't work.
For sure,
because there's a lot of value to be gained from that.
Ton of value,
especially with behavior of other individuals, right? Like human behavior is just so fascinating.
Oh yeah,
it's so fascinating. What's your future look like for Fredette? I know that none of us have a crystal ball. But what are you looking to do with it? How are you looking to take this thing?
Yeah, I would like to continue to grow my team. We just added another agent, so we're at a 6-person team right now.
Nice.
That'll be the 4th licensed agent that'll be on my team, and then we have Jessica as my director of ops, runs my marketing, the transaction coordinating, and then we have Kara as the admin, kind of doing some projects and stuff in the background.
Fantastic. That's a good machine.
It really is. I am very fortunate to have Jess and Kara really as the foundation of my business. Without them, I would be all over the place. Right before we started this, I was taking a call from Jess, and she's even on vacation, and she was banging out a bunch of stuff this morning for deals that we're putting under contract today. So I wouldn't be able to do what I've done without those guys. They've allowed me the bandwidth to be able to do what I'm going to do.
Support.
For sure. And the way I run my team, you can run a team in many different ways. And it can be run as a team leader with a bunch of buyer agents trying to accomplish their goal. I'm trying to be a team leader to help everyone accomplish their goal as an individual unit here.
Okay.
And that's important to me. I want to create an environment where people want to stay and not where people want to leave.
Yeah, so that's hard in the real estate world because very frequently you're nurturing your future competition.
Correct. Yep.
And I know that commission splits has a lot, it has some to do with it,
yep.
but mostly it's culture.
Yeah.
And so you talk about your client relationships and how important long-term relationships are to you there, and what you're doing for client appreciation events and stuff like that. Likewise, I imagine, let me know, what are you doing for lack of a better term, agent appreciation events?
Yeah.
What are you doing for that culture?
No, hey, that's great. And you say the word culture. Amazingly, this year I was nominated by my office to the New England region, Keller Williams, as a cultural ambassador.
Okay.
And of all of New England, every office submitted one person, and I was selected as the New England region cultural ambassador, along with one other agent as well.
Good work, Neil.
So what we do for that was a lot of what we do for our clients in the community.
Sure.
But your question came, what do we do for our team?
Yeah.
And team build stuff is huge. We'll go out, dinner events. We went out and did axe throwing. Last year, we went into Boston and did the flight club with the darts. Anything, just spending some time together outside of work as well, on a personal level, is certainly something that I think bonds you all together.
Yeah.
I think you do the same with your team.
We do. We get together monthly.
Yeah.
So we do it every other month. So 6 months out of the year we do team meetings, and the other 6 months we do team events. And so we did axe throwing just about a month ago. Yeah. We have a barbecue coming up at the end of August. We have Dungeons and Dragons tonight here in the office. Yeah. So we're trying to have social bonding as much as possible, while also still doing our kind of our fiduciary responsibility, right? Like we need to make sure that the business gets paid and that the legs stay firm underneath it. And so you have to balance those two really, really. It's a challenge sometimes.
It is.
It's not a house of cards, thankfully. I would say it's way more secure than that, but it's definitely a balancing act to make sure that your people are financially taken care of, socially taken care of, mentally taken care of. We do mental health check-ins. Yeah. Like part of Danielle's job is to keep her ear to the ground. Who's having some challenges in their personal life that might need a little bit of time off. Yeah. And so we do that just to make sure that our people aren't falling through the cracks, and it's really important to nurture your team.
For sure. I mean, we just, now we're into August, but once we got through June, that was the 6 month point.
Yep.
So we're talking, how have the first 6 months gone? Yeah. How is the next 6 months going to go? Is there anything I could have provided for you more? Do you need anything from me? Do you need anything from the team?
Like a performance review.
For sure. And, I want to make sure that the lines of communication are always open.
Sure.
I never want anything to sit and smolder or fester. If there's any problems that you would like to see me or the team doing more for you, please let me know. Yep. And I'll do the same. And there's something that I've learned from some experiences in the past that I've just dealt with some things and it did fester, and then it gets to a point of unhealthiness. Sure. And so I've tried to learn from that in the past, of my own mistakes in the past, to not repeat those mistakes. Yep. And I think that's helped me become a better leader. And I will say the beauty of being a team leader, and you talked about how different personalities you have. You have different personalities in life, just like in real estate.
Oh, my goodness, yes.
People do things so differently.
They do.
So I have different agents and different people on my team who completely do things differently. Yep. And they're very successful in their ways, but I have to lead in different ways with different agents and different team members.
You are speaking my language.
Right?
Absolutely.
And so it's something I've actually really enjoyed, and I've been thankful for the different people that I've had on my team. It's helped me grow as a team leader, recognizing the wants and the needs of different people on my team, and then being able to help provide whatever they need for them to be successful.
Yeah. So at that point, you're working more in a life coaching / job coaching kind of persona of sorts, or capacity, where you're growing your own book of business, but you're also nurturing them along their own journeys to grow theirs that contributes eventually to yours. Correct. So it's a lot of time in, but no guarantee of out.
Right.
Right.
And they could leave.
Yep.
And that's going to be okay. And if they do leave, I'm going to root for their success,
Yep.
and I will help them when they call me. Yep. I want a true environment where people know that they're welcome in now.
Yeah.
And even if we leave, we're still going to shake hands, and we're still going to be friends, and I'll still root for you and your success. And I want everyone to know that's the type of a culture and environment that I want to grow.
Yeah.
And that's important to me. I've been fortunate to be around my long-standing friends, or friends that I've been with since high school. And so it's just another example of long-term relationships. And I would love for my team to grow and be together for that period of time. But to do that, I need to make sure I create an environment where they're not looking to go. Yep. And whether that's the culture or it might be financial.
Everyone has a different level of paycheck, right?
Right.
Like you have to meet that financial need.
Right.
But beyond that, what are you doing, right?
Yeah.
And so if somebody's coming in to punch a clock and get paid, and that's all they really care about, honestly, they're not part of our team.
Right.
That's not who we hire.
Yeah.
We hire people who actually desire to be here because there's a culture that supports each other.
Yeah.
That we actually want to get up in the morning and go to work because we have fun with what we do.
Yes.
And when we are together, it's like blowing the doors off the place, right? Like day one, week one, when we moved in here, our landlord came downstairs. He goes, "Wow," he goes, "You guys sure are a loud bunch." I'm like, "Yes, we are."
Thank you.
But no, it was kind of like one of those like little like nudge complaints, but it wasn't really a true complaint because apparently the downstairs, the previous tenants were engineers and salespeople, and they were just like dry as toast.
Yep.
And they just kind of just did their job, and they were being counters and stuff like that, right? But meanwhile, like, we're a creative production outfit.
Brought some life into this building.
Yeah. And so when we laugh, we laugh.
Yes.
We
that's
laugh
healthy.
loud,
that's good.
And you can hear it next door over at Oliver's, when Danielle or Kristen or whatever are having a vibrant conversation, and because, the walls are only so thick, but it's important to have that environment where when you walk into it, you don't feel heavy.
Yeah.
You feel uplifted and positive and vibrant.
Hey, like when I walked in here today, I was thrilled to see you guys, and just a nice welcoming environment right here. That's what you created for your team.
Yeah.
And I want that same thing in mine. We're always laughing. We got people in the office coming down, talking to us. Yeah. We laugh hard, we work hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's both and.
Yeah.
Both and.
Yeah.
Do you listen to podcasts with all the driving that you do?
I do. Not as much as I should.
Yeah.
I'll pick certain things and I'll find it and I'll listen to it. But I will say there's no certain people that I listen to consistently.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you kind of bounce a lot?
Yeah. I listen to music a lot.
Yeah.
So I'm not just listening to podcasts, but I certainly do.
Okay.
Especially there's been a lot of change in real estate here lately. So listening to a lot of people's opinion.
There's some guidance.
Yeah.
There. Yeah.
I just I feel like I have a pretty good finger on the pulse, but you can always learn something.
Yeah.
Everyone, an agent who started in the industry today, I could learn something from that person. It may not be a transactional thing in real estate, but maybe a way that they did something in sales in their own way that could add a little piece to my puzzle that improves me and my business. Yep. So
it's amazing how many other industries correlate with real estate as far as the principles that you bring to it.
Yeah.
I can compare wedding photography with hiring a realtor.
Right.
Like those things are so unrelated.
Yeah.
But the principles that exist,
there's parallels.
So many parallels.
Yeah.
As far as behaviors and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I only ask about the podcast thing just simply because from a business building standpoint, I love listening to Dave Ramsey's podcasts.
Sure.
So he runs the Entree Leadership podcast.
Yep.
And for a while it floundered because he had one of his guys working on it. And then he's like, you know what, I'm just going to take this thing myself.
Yep.
And he got on it himself. And since he's gotten on it himself, it's skyrocketed as far as the frequency of their releases, the information that's being given on there is like really hard hitting, punch in the face kind of information.
Yep.
And so it's really business building for me because I'm hearing stories from other business owners of the gripes and the concerns and the complaints that they have or the challenges that they're encountering. And I'm like, oh, I know that one. And then I'll either hear a confirmation that we did it the right way or another side of it where I'm like, oh no, why didn't I do that?
Yeah.
And so I find that having that kind of access to information, especially what we have access to these days, has really helped me nurture my own idea of what business ownership looks like.
Sure.
And, employee conversation and relationship management looks like.
Yep.
And that all adds to my capacity. Yep. I was just curious, just quick soapbox on my part.
Yeah, no, I do a lot of relating. I've always been a sports fan.
Yeah.
Like going to sports, watching sports, playing when I was younger. I brought my son and my uncle went to the Tom Brady Hall of Fame at Gillette, and I put up a post about how many parallels there were between that night and just life in general.
Okay.
And they had talked about competitiveness.
Yeah.
They'd talked about loyalty. They'd talked about hard work. They talked about putting people in the right places to succeed.
Yeah.
And there was so many parallels between that night of all these people who were on these great teams.
Right.
Right. We're part of a team here,
yeah.
and they were all on great teams, and how there's leaders led, and there were certain ways about maybe some leaders in New England were rubbed people the wrong way, but they were always very successful in the way that they did it. And I really, those parallels, that whole night that we sat there listening to people talk about sports, all I kept doing was sitting there thinking about my business and my life. And my son sat in between my uncle and I, and he must have got so many of these from me and my uncle saying, "You hear that, Sean? You hear that?"
Yeah. It's not just me who says that.
Right. And so it's like just so many life lessons, and there's so many parallels in life that you can take value from so many different areas.
I love it.
And so sports is something that I always went back to. And
all right, it's
translatable.
translatable.
We're New England here in Patriots and Bill Belichick, and it was one thing that he always did was he would take people from other teams that weren't successful, and they would join the Patriots, and they would be highly successul.
Yep.
Is because he knew what their talents were, and he put them in a position to succeed.
He understood who they were.
Correct. Didn't try to change them.
He took time to understand what he was working with versus trying to force a square peg into a round hole.
And that there, I think, is so valuable. And I think that's been important in my personal life as well as my business, is to have that sort of mindset. Is it's not about changing people. It's about I'm getting the best out of that person in the way that they do it.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. So many times in my personal life as well as business, I'll identify that same pattern where people are like, "Oh, I'm just not good at X, Y, Z." I'm like, "So stop doing X, Y, Z.
Yep.
Stop doing it." A friend of mine just, she has a wonderful comment of, you take a kid who's a 3 or a 4 out of 10 on math, you might make him a 6.
Yeah.
But if he's a 9 in science, nurture that.
Yeah.
Who cares about the math? Not say like, let's get him a 1.
Yep.
But, get him to a 5. Call it a day. Don't pressure him to try to be a 10. Because if you're not near a 10 on something, you're not going to be a 10 on something.
That's okay. Double down on what you're good at.
Exactly.
In this business, you might be really good at your social media. I haven't been a big social media person. I've had to get into social media because of the business that I'm in. And honestly, it wasn't something that I was a big fan of.
Yep.
I'm a person-to-person relationship. Yep. So it's like I put people in place on my team to help do that social media because I know I'm not good at it, right? But what I am good at is these relationships right here, is nurturing these relationships. And so go out, and that's what I do to bring in my business. Yep. Whereas others might just sit there and pound that social media pavement and have massive success doing it.
Yep.
So I don't need to sit there and try to be the best social media guy. Sure. I just stay in my lane, and I know I have to fill that, and we have a team that can do that.
Exactly.
And there's different people on my team who have different skill sets, and I try to double down myself and have them double down on their skill sets and put them in a position to succeed once again.
Yep. But being able to talk about what's necessary within their positions, obviously that's the role of a business owner, right? So you have to have that high level conversation with them, but let them do their low level work.
Yep, for sure.
And that's what sets the entrepreneur apart from the employee, right? And that's not necessarily that one is better than the other. It's that it's necessary for any structure to occur.
Correct.
And obviously, the better you do that, and the more capacity you put into the people that are around you, under you, in your environment, the more purpose they're going to walk home with at the end of the day, and they're not going to feel that need to separate and go off on their own because they'll be taken care of.
Yeah.
And so that's what we try to embody here, and it sounds to me like that's exactly what you're doing with your agents.
Certainly, and I've got room to grow there as well, and I continuously will grow. I want I want to continuously improve upon what I do, and even though things are going good, doesn't mean they can't be going better.
All right.
You know, and always have that mindset of a willingness to learn, a willingness to improve.
What's the number one challenge that you're facing these days? What's your biggest hurdle?
I think
other than leads, like the market's dry.
Listings,
right?
You can never be too busy.
No.
So certainly, maybe a lot of misconceptions that are out there in the industry, especially with the new NAR settlement that popped up, and commissions and so forth. I feel like we're in a great position to really educate our clients right now. But business, and a lot of it comes from listings, and we've had a challenge with where those rates went so low, and you've got a lot of sellers who are hesitant to sell for one reason or another. It just cost me a deal the other day that was a long nurtured deal that we had, and then at the last minute they're like, you know what, I can't leave this mortgage, and I can't leave this rate right now, and no matter how much I educated them. That was their decision, and maybe that was the best decision for them, and I support that. And you have to
honor it, right?
Yeah, I support that. As long as it's in the best decision for them,
sure.
I let them know that I support that, and when they are ready, they'll know that they had someone who actually cared about them making the right decision, and they'll come back to me one day. Don't push them for your interests.
No.
Make sure that you care about their interests. That person will remain a client of mine instead of disappearing when they said no. And that's important to me right there. So. I guess it's to continuously broaden my sphere. Everything is a branch. I'm a big analogy guy, and you've got a tree, and it starts with one sprout, and then it's two, and then it goes out, and then you've got this big, massive tree that keeps going.
It can be exponential growth.
Correct.
If you have systems that allow for it to.
Yep. Trim off the bad stuff.
Exactly.
Nurture the good stuff. Take care of it, and you'll watch it grow. And I think of that with my personal life, my team, my clients, business, all of it. So it's a continuous challenge right there that we'll always have, whether the business is good or the business is bad. Bringing in more business and growing that tree.
So there's an old sales adage of don't take no for an answer.
Sure.
It doesn't sound to me like that's your approach.
Yeah,
it's. For what it's worth, I don't identify with that adage. I do take no for an answer.
Yeah.
If it's a no, it's a no.
Well, I read a book one time. It was called Search for the No. And I can't recall who the author was, but it was about getting to the no as a definite decision. And, if it's a client of mine who hasn't told me, or not even a client, a customer, who has not become a client at this point in time, until you just tell me no, I want to stay in your world. I want to keep trying to add value to you. I want to keep being in touch with you. But if I become annoying, you say, Neil, I'm not interested. Stop. I searched for the no. I found it. I will listen to that customer, and I will move on. But if they're sitting there and they're still the maybe, and I might want to do something, but it might be a year or two out, those people are on your bench. Keep them on your bench. Stay in touch with them, because they're going to be ready to start one day. And so that's the mindset that I have there. And so it's not like you don't take no for an answer, because you got to respect people's opinion. But make sure they're educated when they say no. Make sure they're educated,
and you understand why they're saying no.
Correct.
That's
important.
I find a ton of value with the why do we lose that customer, or why do we lose that business? Well, you lost it because of these factors. Oh, we need to change that. Right. And a lot of times you don't get them back. Right. Especially in real estate, like once a bridge is burned, unfortunately, it stays torched a lot of times. And so what we do is we work diligently to identify trends of both positive and negative behavior, so that we can try to accommodate and learn and grow from that. And so part of that is understanding why it was a no.
For sure.
So we derive value for us equally from the yeses and the nos.
Have to. You have to learn from each, whether it be positive or be negative. There's always something to be learned out of there. And we'll even we'll be in trainings or whatnot, and some of it gets a little fluff, a little rah-rah. And I'm not a big rah-rah sort of guy. I'm a facts and data sort of guy. And I always say, there might be an hour of this video that you watch, and 75% of it is a bunch of fluff, but in that 25%, there's a lot of value there. try to take one nugget because there's something there. Even if you take one nugget out of it, it's valuable to you. Did you just add to your arsenal? Did you just make yourself better? And the whole make yourself 1% better every day makes yourself however percent better in a year sort of thing. That's the mindset to have. Try to continuously be moving forward and bettering yourself.
Definitely. And we embody that. And I think that if you looked at our clients here at Medor, you'd probably see a lot of parallels in their values being shared with ours.
I bet.
And I think that's, that you do business with who you know, like, and trust, obviously. But why do you know, like, and trust them? Well, it's because you can kind of see yourself in their shoes, maybe. Or maybe you just, something clicks, right? But you have to really put your finger on that and say, what do my customers, what do my clients appreciate most about what I do? And then hone in on that. That's where what are you doing well? Do more of it. And for us, it's as simple as being ready to go. Showing up on time, delivering a consistent product. Are we the best photographers?
Yes.
No, we are not. We are not the best. Are we the best for our market locally? Absolutely.
Yes.
There are better photographers that exist globally, even locally. There is someone out there who's charging 5 times what we are that can do a better job than we can. But if you take a look at our quality, speed, price ratio, we're the best at what we do in our local market.
I've got no complaints.
No, I know. I'm also a hard guy to pat myself on the back. I don't do that heck of a lot. But I do know that our product is reliable as the day is long.
Absolutely.
And that's what our customers, that's what our clients subscribe to. And so long as you're advocating for your client's best interest each and every single day, you're doing your job. I was at a shoot yesterday. It doesn't happen often.
Wait. You were at a shoot yesterday.
I was at a shoot yesterday.
Tell me more.
Well, actually, two to pour water, to pour some salt on the wound. No, I was in Wells, Maine, on the way down, and I photographed a listing that's going on the market just across from Moody Beach. So nice little spot, nice cape. I mean, it's a Wells Cape near the beach. That's really the selling point, right? So from there, I went to Andover, and Andover was just a tiny condo above a business, is all it was. I mean, nice condo, nothing really to shake a fist at. But the realtor was trying to get her client to cooperate on giving us access to the roof deck. There's a roof deck on this condo. There's signs all over the condo association about the rules for the roof deck. But this client was adamant that the roof deck didn't exist. And so the realtor was getting nowhere, like no headway whatsoever. I took the cue to just kind of plant a seed, and I just asked, I said, I'll be right back. I said, can I have the front door key? And so I went out, boom, unlocked. There it is. Boom, done. And client doesn't even know. We stopped arguing. We just solved the problem, that kind of thing. And I was advocating for the realtor's best interest at that point, just simply by being maybe a little subversive or whatever. But the point is that you get the job done, and mission accomplished. And
it was in that client's best interest. They didn't know it at the time. But it was in their best interest.
Sometimes you just gotta say, you know what? Thank you. That's it. Move on. Do your thing. Right. And what they don't know is how much you did without their knowledge. And I think that at the end of the day, that's a large part of what sets you apart from a lot of other realtors. What sets us apart from a lot of other photographers is that we do so much in the back end that people don't even know that we even do. They're like, oh, when did you do that? Oh, did it while you weren't looking. We'll go through a home and we'll stage. And I tell our team all the time, I'm like, look, the easiest thing to do is go in there, move a trash can, prep blinds, and move lampshades. Like that seam on a lampshade, because everyone has one, just spin it. You'd be amazed what kind of traction you can get with your client. If they see you spinning a lampshade, they'd be like, I didn't even think of that. Like, we're talking low-hanging fruit, You
got one right here that he always does a phenomenal job at stuff like that. And Dylan as well. Those two, Keith and Dylan, always going into places And even if I'm busy with my client,
yeah,
I know that those guys are doing those things.
You know it's getting done.
And I know it's going to come out good.
Yep.
Because it always does.
Yep. And the client doesn't have to know that you know.
Right.
They just have to trust you.
Yep.
You trust us,
yep.
right? It's a waterfall.
Correct.
And that takes a lot of relationship building.
Correct. Yep. So. Absolutely. And we had one, it was Dylan, a week and a half or 2 weeks ago in Stowe. And I had to sit with my client. We didn't have an opportunity to talk about some things. He was on his own the entire time. I don't think that I watched him do anything really. And then he comes back and he says he's done.
Yep.
And we had, drone, floor plans, photos, video. We had everything.
Yep.
And, if I didn't have that relationship with you guys, could I have done that?
No.
No way.
No.
Because I want to make sure it's going to go right. And I'm going to sit there and say, this needs to be done, this needs to be done, do this, do that, to make sure it goes the way I want it.
Yep.
Well, we have a relationship here with you guys. I know it's going to go the way that I want it.
Yep.
So to be able to just sit there with my client and know that you guys had it was such a great feeling to be able to do that, to open up that time for me to do what I had to do at that point in time. And that long-term relationship, whether it be me and you or your attorneys or your home inspector, you know that those people that you've teamed up with are going to do a good job. They're going to advocate for your clients and put them in the best position to succeed.
It just seals the deal.
It completely does.
Seals the deal. And it lets you do what you do best, which is build the client relationship.
Yep.
Because that's really what it is. That's what your job is.
Yep.
You're not in home sales. You're in relationship management.
Correct. Really are.
Yep. And I got to tell you, we're not really in photography.
Yeah.
That's our product.
Yeah.
Just like real estate is your product.
Yeah.
We're in relationship management.
I've actually heard you say that before. You've commented that before.
That's just what it is.
Yeah.
And sure, I mean, like this is our widget, right? Everybody's got something that they're peddling.
Yep.
Right? For you, it's a house.
Yep.
For your car sales guy, it's a car.
Yep.
But that's not what you're buying.
Yep.
You're buying into the capacity for that human being to relate to your needs and fulfill and deliver what they've promised to do.
Correct.
That's what you're in.
Yep.
That's it.
Yep.
Because you can go to Carvana, but you're not shopping on Carvana.
I'm going to Jim.
Jim from where? Let's plug him.
Jim McCall from Marlboro Nissan. So there you go, Jim. There's a nice plug for you.
There you go. But yeah, no. So it's all about that. The business isn't about things.
Yeah.
It's about people.
Correct.
So.
Yep. It's always a good mindset to have, and if you have that mindset, the business will always follow.
It will.
Put your clients in front of your wallet, and your wallet will always be full.
Yep. Amen to that.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's a good closer right there.
Awesome,
Neil. It's been a really great conversation.
Always a good conversation with you, Jeremy. Always good to see you. We always have some laughs and have a good time while doing it.
That's the intent
for sure.
And if it ever changes, I don't know.
Never.
Maybe tell me.
Never, my man. Right. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.